What's up, everybody? Welcome to GameFreak. Today we're going to talk about the disappearance of these retro games. There's been a recent study by GameHistory.org, and the study is by the Video Game History Foundation. And they've recently found that 87% of all video games are missing. And they're considering them critically endangered. And that just baffles me because there's so many games out there that, a lot of us are still looking for as collectors. Resellers are getting it so they can rate people on prices and everything. But collectors like myself that aren't ever going to resell them are having a hard time getting their hands on these things. And these guys wrote a really interesting article, and I'm going to share it with you, and we'll talk about it after we go through it. So let's take a look at this. So the Video Game History Foundation, in partnership with the Software Preservation Network, has conducted the first ever study on the commercial availability of classic video games, and the results are bleak. 87% of classic video games released in the United States are critically endangered. Now imagine if the only way to watch Titanic was to find a used VHS tape and maintain your own vintage equipment so that you could still watch it. And what if no library, not even the Library of Congress, could do any better? They could keep and digitalize that VHS of Titanic, but you'd have to go all the way there to watch it. It sounds crazy, but that's the reality we live in with video games. $180 billion industry while the games and their history disappear. For accessing nearly 9 in 10 classic games, there are few options. Seek out and maintain vintage collectible games and hardware, travel across the country to visit a library, or piracy. None of those options are desirable, which means that most video games are inaccessible to all but the most die-hard and dedicated fans. That's pretty grim. This is where libraries and archives could come in. Anyone should be able to easily explore, research, and play classic video games in the same way that they can read classic novels, listen to classic albums, and watch classic movies. But outdated copyright laws are preventing institutions like ours from doing our job. The goal of this study is this: get expanded exemptions for libraries and organizations preserving video games, which are currently far more limited than their ability to preserve books, movies, audio, etc. How this study helps? The video game industry's main lobbying group has successfully argued to the U.S. Copyright Office that the industry already does enough to preserve its own history commercially, and that additional protections for preservation institutions would hurt their bottom line. We proved them wrong. The industry has actually only managed to make 13% of its history available, and it's unlikely to get better. Here are a few quick facts. 87% of classic games are not in release and are considered critically endangered. Availability is low across every platform and time period tracked in the study. Libraries and archives can digitally preserve but not digitally share video games and can provide on-premises access only. Libraries and archives are allowed to digitally share other media types such as books, film, and audio, and are not restricted to on-premises access. The Entertainment Software Association, the video game industry's lobbying group, has consistently fought against expanding video game preservation within libraries and archives. The next rulemaking proceeding under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, Title 17, Section 1201 of the United States Code is scheduled for 2024. We're hopeful that this study will incite change and that video game preservation will become stronger before we lose more. So that's the article on, you can check it out on gamehistory.org. And they have a bunch of different like bar graphs and like circle graphs that show a little bit of detail on this. So feel free to go check that out. It's gamehistory.org. And if you want to go a little, dig a little deeper into it. But, you know, it's pretty amazing, and it's kind of, I don't know, sad, I guess, as a retro game lover or a collector. This kind of gives these resellers, you know, the upper hand with you know, overpricing their games when they resell them, because they know there's very limited supply out there. There's a shit ton out there. They're just not in supply anymore, but they are in demand. So yeah, they're just gonna rate people on these prices, and it sounds like this lobbying group are a bunch of greedy assholes who are just in it for money. You know, there's no money to be made for them, because a lot of these games they lost their I think their IP rights or something. They didn't renew them. I think that's what it's called, like IP rights or something, or IP license. They never renewed the license, so there's no money involved in them. So of course they're not gonna give permission to libraries and everything to preserve these games, because they're not gonna make any money on it. So it's pretty sad that, you know, I know every industry is just full of greed, but man, this is games. Like, man, you made your billions. It's $180 billion industry. You made the money already. You let libraries preserve these. It's not like you're going to be hurting. You're still going to be able to go to the store and buy your fucking food and everything. You can still live in your mansion. You're rich. I mean, who gives a shit? I don't know. I'm just not a fan of greed, and it irritates me, because, like I said, I'm not a reseller fan either, and this just gives them the upper hand. So, what do you guys think? Am I just looking too far into it? I mean, I don't think I am. I mean, these are like stats that were researched, and they've been researching it for a long time now. So I kind of want to hear what you guys all think about it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel a lot. And until the next video, game on.